I'm going to go over some basics on measuring and cutting drywall, and whether you're cutting a small piece of drywall like this or a larger piece, the concepts are about the same. And for this piece, we made sure we used a stud finder to find the 2x4 studs behind this, and so we cut in and we made a mark about 3/4 of the way in so that we catch a screw on this side, and we're going to catch a screw here into the stud. And here they actually had double 2x4s, so where this was cut, it wasn't that important that we find the middle of the stud. So it's nice to have a stud finder if you're doing a project like this, because it just helps to guide if you have to cut away drywall, if you're repairing some damage. So now that we know the size, we're just going to take a measurement on the top, and we've got 13.5 here, and then on the bottom, hoping that it's the same, but it's not, we've got 13.25 on the bottom. So I'm actually going to make a cut using that angle just to show you how you can cut different shaped pieces, and then we'll cut it to length, which is about 41.5 inches. I marked my piece 13.5 and 13.25, and I'm using a drywall tee for this. And if you're doing big projects, it's nice to have a drywall tee because it just makes the job easier. It has measurements on it, and it'll also lock off at a 90 degree if you're making a lot of straight cuts. There's a little bit of an angle, so we're tilting this. But the main thing when cutting drywall is use a very sharp knife so you don't tear the paper face, and you want to always cut from the front. So we just start on the edge. I'm just guiding it against my drywall tee here. And it's that easy to score it. And once we have it scored, we just have to, and this is a small piece. Now if we were working with a full sheet of drywall, we could just do this standing up and make the same measurements. But you're just going to use your knee behind this line and just pull back, and it's that easy to break the drywall. And now we'll just take our knife and from the back, we're just going to cut the paper face on the back, and it's that easy to cut drywall. Now that you've got your piece cut, you can just float it in and see how close it is. And in this case, it's pretty close. And one tool that you should have while you're putting in pieces, or if you're doing large sections, is just a drywall rasp. And what's nice about this is if you have areas like here, if it's hitting a little bit, you can just use this rasp, and you can bring down the edge of the drywall very quickly. And if you have any bumps from when you cracked it, you can also smooth it out. So just a very simple way to float in a piece. So those are the basics for measuring and fitting in drywall. Now, all the drywall, especially 4x8 sheets, 4x12 sheets, are going to have the two sides beveled. And when you're doing long sheets, you want to put those beveled edges together so it's easier to tape and compound. In this case, we're butting up edges that aren't beveled. And sometimes you're going to have a little bit of this paper sticking off. So one other trick you can do is, if you have paper sticking off, is just use a very sharp knife, and you can just come down at a 45-degree angle, and you can just cut away even just an 1/8 of an inch of the paper away, and it's going to make it very easy to put tape and compound. So those are the basics for measuring and cutting drywall.